taking 3 stone off, 42 pounds in weight, being that drained. Well, not only is it dangerous, but it's also kind of conning the fans and cheating the fans and the public that you're there to put a performance on when actually you've got no chance of putting a performance on. It just wasn't good enough from Liam Smith. I was disappointed with his performance, badly.
To be honest, Carl, this felt like what I thought the first fight was going to be. There was no urgency from him throughout the entire fight. There was no change of tack. After that moment, for me, he'd gone from you're wondering, oh, is he building into the fight? Is he starting slow? Is he trying to set traps? To almost survival, really.
For me, his career is over. That's my opinion. I don't think there needs to be a third fight. Welcome to the second edition of The Verdict with myself and George Groves. Right, no messing about. Let's get straight into it. Last night was Liam Smith, Chris Eubank Jr. The rematch, repeat or revenge. George, what's your verdict?
Yes, Carl. Well, my verdict has to be that was an exquisite, exceptional performance from Chris Eubank Jr. He was cool, calm, measured. He definitely had a game plan this time and stuck to it, executed it really well. And it was one-way traffic from the get-go. A great performance from Chris Eubank Jr. How did you see it? Was you shocked? Was you impressed? How did you see it?
I suppose I was shocked that Chris Eubank Jr. performed so well, but also shocked that Liam Smith performed so poorly. And I don't want to be in danger of taking anything away from Chris Eubank Jr.'s performance, because it was a good performance. He boxed well. He got his range pretty quick. He was looking for that uppercut, which he landed in round 5? No, round 4 he landed that and dropped Liam Smith. I mean, early on in the fight, it was a bit awkward and holding and messing, and it was one of them where I thought, I hope this doesn't happen all night. It was just horrible. Every time they came close together, they just clinched. But I was shocked that Liam Smith was so poor. But it did transpire in the post-fight press conference that he took 42 pounds off, 3 stone. I don't know how you can take 3 stone off when you're an 11 stone fighter. But yeah, I was very impressed with Chris Eubank's performance, because I thought he was finished. I thought he was shot after that first fight when he got clipped on the chin by a career super welterweight. I just thought, no, I don't think he's going to be able to recover from that and come back from that. But he did. So I suppose I was shocked for both of them reasons. Chris Eubank being so good and Liam Smith being so bad.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Liam was flat. He said he was flat. He understands boxing enough to know how to think and feel, and it was really disappointing that he was so flat. But there was no urgency from him throughout the entire fight. There was no change of tack. And then after that knockdown in the 4th round, where he's getting caught with an uppercut, which is the shot that you can't be accepting of, because you know Chris Eubank loves to throw an uppercut. He loves the uppercut. They should have been in the whole camp. Right, he's going to throw uppercuts. It's very easy to defend against an uppercut. You know, the uppercuts that are effective are usually after a barrage of punches when either one of them is like starting to gas or start to feel the pace. But it comes early in the 4th round, early in the fight. And after that moment, for me, he'd gone from you're wondering, oh, is he building into the fight? Is he starting slow? Is he trying to set traps? To almost survival, really. But Eubank, to his credit, I think, you know, you mentioned there that there was holding. There was a lot of holding in the first few rounds, and that was intentional from Eubank. You know, usually he knows people don't necessarily buy into that and want to see it, but he knew that was going to be effective for him. His jab was better than it has been before. And then, yeah, he wasn't letting Smith sort of get any rhythm in the fight, because as soon as he sort of let his hands go, he wanted to hold him. I think
both of them were a little bit guilty of holding early on. I thought you're right. Eubank Jr. wanted to clinch up close. That was probably part of his tactics. But Liam Smith was happy to kind of hold. He got his head stuck in a little bit and started to get a little bit rough from round 2-3, using a bit of experience. But I think that kind of made me think to myself, why is he holding? Is he holding because he looked a bit unsteady on his legs in round 1? I think his ankle went. He like moved to the side and he just didn't look good from the very outset, Liam Smith. And because he was holding up close, it took the thought of me thinking, is he shot to bits here? Because some fighters, they walk to the ring and from round 1 you can see they've got no chance. They've done the weight wrong. They're tired. and they've got no punch resistance. But you can't always see that if there's no punches being thrown or landed. And Liam Smith never really got hit with much because of the clinching early on. But as soon as the clinching stopped after that round 4 knockdown, by that lovely executed uppercut from Chris Eubank Jr., I just thought to myself, he was kind of masking it from the beginning. He's always been like weak on his legs from round 1, and that uppercut that dropped him proved it, because it was a nice uppercut, let's be honest, but it wasn't a big knockout shot. Chris Eubank's not a big puncher. He's very tough and strong, but he's not going to hit you with one uppercut and knock you out. He landed about 7 or 8 of them uppercuts in the previous fight, didn't he? In round 4 or round 5? He had a really good round and landed loads of uppercuts consecutively. It was no different to any of them, and Liam Smith stood up to them. So I just think Liam Smith was that badly weight drained. He'd done the weight that poorly. He was so tired and drained. I just think that he was hanging in there and just surviving from the outset, and even more so from the knockdown in round 4 when he got clipped on the chin. I was really, really disappointed with Liam Smith's performance. Was you as disappointed as me with Liam's performance?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was disappointed. I expected more from Liam Smith. But to be honest, Carl, this felt like what I thought the first fight was going to be. You know, Eubank Jr., the bigger guy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And Smith maybe being the better boxer, but not being able to compete with the physicality of Eubank. And if Eubank does have that bit of discipline where he punches at the right time, uses his jab to sort of control Smith a little bit, not let him get in the fight. We didn't see anything from Smith. There was no lateral movement. There was, he didn't evade any shots really, apart from.
He wasn't trying to do anything. He wasn't trying to do anything except stay in there.
Do you think he took him lightly then? Do you think, after the first fight, the hype behind him for this second fight, everyone saying, like, no one within the industry could, with conviction, picked Eubank to win? I didn't back Eubank to win. I didn't say it publicly, but I wondered whether his best days are behind him, whether the fight has left him, whether he's... That's a horrible expression, but is he a shot fighter now? Has the punch resistance gone? Has the engine gone? Has even the desire and the sort of the mental strength gone?
Well, listen. You still might be right, because you tell what you think about this, but he didn't really get tested in there. Liam Smith was that limited in what he threw. What did he land? 2 or 3 shots? Did you see his face, Chris Eubank Jr.'s face after the fight at the press conference? He didn't have a mark on him. He was literally unmarked. So he might be shot. He might be that fighter that got dropped early in their first fight, but we never got to find out because Liam Smith never landed a punch. I think he landed 1 or 2 shots that was like half power shots, and Eubank was able to roll them off and just not worry about him. But he never got put under any pressure at all. Liam Smith didn't land any shots, hardly any shots, and didn't put him under any pressure. I don't think that told us much about Eubank, except for we have to say it was a good performance, and he put shots together for 10 rounds. He was quite busy, so he was fit, and he looked strong. But we're not going to know, are we, until he's hit on the chin by someone who can punch a little bit? Because I don't know. I don't want to take anything away from Chris Eubank's performance. And I don't want to write off Liam Smith too much. But Liam Smith was that bad, and it transpired in the post-fight press conference that he took 3 stone off, which I've already mentioned. But taking 3 stone off, 42 pounds in weight, being that drained, going into the ring. Well, not only is it dangerous, but it's also kind of conning the fans and cheating the fans and the public that you're there to put a performance on, when actually you've got no chance of putting a performance on because you're physically incapable. And that's what he looked like from round 1 for me. He was on survival mode after the knockdown, but before that he did nothing. I just thought it just wasn't good enough from Liam Smith. I was disappointed with his performance, badly. I mean, I don't know if you're obviously not as disappointed as I am, but I expected a lot more from him.
I was disappointed to find out he ballooned up that much in weight, because he would have known that there's a strong possibility that Eubank would trigger a rematch clause. So at this stage of your career, at this age, you don't let yourself fluctuate so much. He's already moved up in weight, so he doesn't need to just pile on the pounds. Obviously, he had a few problems in the camp. The fight got delayed, and no doubt it was probably because, as much as he was missing out on training for an injury, probably because there was no chance of him ever making that weight. Well, Eubank described it as one of his best ever performances. He was speaking to talkSPORT's Gareth A. Davis after the fight.
Is that one of the best performances you can ever remember in your career?
One of them, especially coming off of the back of a defeat like I had last time. The bar was low, people saying I'm shot, people saying I'm too old, people saying I have too much money, I don't want to be in the sport anymore, I'm not dedicated, Roy Jones is messing me up, I switch trainers too much, I play poker too much, I talk to too many girls, the list goes on. The fact of the matter is, my life is boxing. I'm in the gym every day, even when I'm not in fight camp. And that's how I can put on performances like that.
So Eubank there, he mentions everything that we all question, doesn't he, Carl? He's talking about, is he a shot fighter? Is his desire there? And that was what I was always wondering. But he says he still has it. He says, and that he's made the changes. He's made the adjustments. One thing he did, he brought in a new trainer. He brought in BoMac. And what do you make of BoMac, Carl? Has he cemented himself as one of the top trainers in the world? That's 2 masterclass performances, should we say, in a row now from his fighters.
Listen, you can't argue with him being an absolutely exceptional trainer. He's got Terence Crawford, and that was a great win against Errol Spence. We all saw that one, and but the trainer can only work with what he's got. Brian McIntyre, BoMac, is a great trainer. He obviously knows what he's doing, and he's tidied Eubank up. He's got him boxing to a game plan. So credit to his trainer. Is he the best trainer in the world? I don't know. The trainers are only as good as the fighters, to be honest. So yeah, top trainer, but I can't give him the Hall of Fame trainer of the world.
I think he's definitely done a good job with Eubank, and I hope that they stick together.
This fight's 1-1 now. I mean, Chris Eubank got wiped out early in that first one, so we wanted to see the rematch to see if he had something wrong with him. We've seen the second one. Liam Smith totally dominated, as in he was dominated from round 1 right through to the stoppage in round 10, including the knockdown with that lovely uppercut in round 4 by Eubank. But I feel like this, for me, it doesn't set up a trilogy because it just looked so one-sided. And I think Liam Smith looks shot and looks finished at 35 years old. But what do you think? Do you think we want to see the trilogy now? Do we need to see a third fight between these two?
Initial reaction was sort of not really. I don't think so, because I say this fight that we saw Saturday night felt like what I thought the fight would have always been, what it would have been the first time. The first fight for me was bizarre, Liam Smith, never known for being a huge puncher, coming up from super welterweight, like middleweight, to middleweight and sort of wiping out Chris Eubank Jr. It felt like there was something wrong. It felt like, I know Eubank tragically lost his brother, which, not that long before the fight, which must have had a massive effect on him. His dad was sort of in a bad place. He didn't look right. But this time around, we've seen it. It was a conclusive, performance, a conclusive finish. That said, never say never. Maybe it is fair that, Smith has a chance to avenge, this defeat. If we end up with some sort of reasoning behind it and it catches fire, some, don't want to say excuses, but if it's an injury or weight or whatnot that comes out, and then there's enough to put together a third fight.
Liam Smith's been really honest, and he alluded to the fact that he struggled at the weight and he felt dead and he felt flat getting in there. And he can't do 160 pounds. So that's the reasoning. Ronnie Davis was talking to talkSPORT after the fight, and he did say there's no need for a third fight. There's pointless. The rematch is pointless. I kind of agree with him on that one. I just don't see that we need to see a third fight. I can't see how they'll drum up the interest for it unless Liam Smith, like you said, comes out and says something seriously bad happened to him. But he's given us his excuse. He didn't make an excuse. It was very magnanimous in defeat. I'm not taking anything away from the way that he coped with losing. But he can't do 160. He's 35 years old. He's been a career super welterweight, 154. So if he can't do 160, what's he going to do? Step up to super middleweight because he's not big enough. So for me, his career is over. That's my opinion. I don't think there needs to be a third fight. But stranger things happen in boxing. Me and you could get a third fight, George. Fancy a third one?
Well, we got the anniversary. We never say never. Don't rule it out. But I think is that both guys are at the stage of their career where they're thinking about business now as well. Liam Smith has a world title previously, Joe. He can say that he was a former world champion. And Eubank, I don't think that's high on his priority list. He might say it, but I think he would always choose, big fight and more money over, world title and, that sort of accolade.
Well, he mentioned Triple G, didn't he? He mentioned getting the Golovkin, and then it's been talked about the Conor Benn fight up at 160. Chris Eubank Jr, I think his future, his massive fight, his big payday fight would definitely be a Conor Benn fight. But I think Conor Benn needs to fight. He needs to fight first. He's had too long out of the ring to jump straight in there with Chris Eubank on that kind of performance from Eubank.
Okay, Cole, so the next big fight, live on talkSPORT, that's on the horizon, is Zhang versus Joyce, and it's on the 23rd of September. And it's another revenge fight, isn't it? It's another revenge fight. It's the rematch. How do you see this?
You know what? It is another revenge fight. It's a rematch, and Joyce got beat. Did he get beat because he got totally outboxed and wiped out and smashed to bits, or was it that eye that was closing that caused him that much problems physically? He kind of had to pull out the fight, but he got busted up. He gets hit anyway. Joyce. I think he's a great fighter in terms of for what he does. The juggernaut's fitting. He comes forward. He's got no head movement. He walks through shots. He walks through walls. He gets smashed in the face with ramrod jabs, left crosses, right crosses, hooks and uppercuts. Do you think to yourself, he's not even bleeding, he's not cut. Is this guy even human? He's like Terminator 2. Just keeps coming for you. But in that fight against Zhang, his eye was closing. He looked like he was getting hurt. He was getting damaged. And Zhang ended up beating him. So for me, it's a good rematch. But Zhang's not a bad fighter. He's quite tidy, but he boxes well. He finds the range on that jab quite early. And once he's got his opponents hurt, he sticks with it. I like Zhang. I like what he does. I've always liked Joyce. I just think his toughness, I think he's fascinating to watch because he doesn't do anything spectacular. He actually looks at times like a novice pro that doesn't look like he's got any moves. But what he's doing in there, walking forward, letting them shots go with no head movement, is so effective. I've seen him sparring Anthony Joshua at the EIS in Sheffield. I've seen him sparring other top fighters. And after 3 rounds, they're looking at the clock and they're looking at the corner thinking, can I go home now? I've had enough. This is like too much pressure. But it just didn't work against Zhang.
Joyce will be quicker. I felt like everything about him was just so slow. And I know he's not been known for being the fastest heavyweight on the planet, but it was like his feet were stuck in the mud. It was like he was fighting in water, and he's always been known for having a great chin. The punches just bounce off him, but that don't always work, does it? And Zhang, he's been around a long time now, but he's a solid heavyweight and he's not someone to be taken lightly. He pushed Hrgović all the way. Hrgović got the nod, and some people think he might have been slightly fortunate in that fight.
Close fight.
Really close fight. And Hrgović now, he's the number 1 contender for Alexander Usyk. So this is the level that we're talking about. Joyce needs to be better. And just certainly needs to be making the guys miss a little bit, even if you ain't got the sharp enough reactions to slip and slide out of the way of the shots with your dips in your head movement, whether your feet are not quick enough to drop in and out of range, then just get the hands up and cover and block and then punch off of that. He is the juggernaut. It's brute strength, brute force. He is a force, and I still rate him. He's got a fantastic engine. As you say, the sparring partners must. No one's enjoying rounds.
He destroys their soul. He destroys their soul in that ring because his work rate doesn't stop. The pace doesn't stop. He just plods forward. He doesn't look like he does anything special. He doesn't even look like he punches hard. He's not fast. He's not dynamic. There's no head movement. It's just basic box standard to watch sometimes. You think, what is going off here? And he's just really effective. The only guy I've seen really, other than Zhang stopping him, the only other guy I've seen do a job on him is in the World Series of Boxing. Actually, it was Alexander Usyk in the 5 minute round format, the cross between like amateur and professional, the WSB, the World Series of Boxing. Some people won't be familiar with that, but that's kind of a step in between amateur and professional. And I watched that fight, and Usyk really did just outbox him and really smash him to bits in that one. So it shows that boxing ability and movement and skills and angles and setting stuff up and distance and timing and all the things you need to be a top fighter, top boxer. That is actually better than Joyce's tactic of walking forward and being a juggernaut and just steamrolling his opponents. Right, so that's it for the second edition of The Verdict. Get in the comment section, let us know what you think. We'll have a look at them. We always read them, very interesting. And whilst you're there, don't forget to hit like, and subscribe and share this video to your friends. We will see you at the next edition, which will be after the Zhang Joyce rematch.